go. Arun, please start with the introduction.
Hello, this is Arun Thiagarajan. I work in shipping. I'm a ship captain in a current diving vessel. So I'm just doing an MBA, Golden Gate University, just to see what all the possibilities.
Thanks, Arun. Over to Ritika.
Hello, my name is Ritika Parab and I'm from Mumbai. Currently, I'm pursuing a hybrid MBA from Golden Gate University, San Francisco. And today, I'm here to present a case analysis on Netflix. Thank you.
Aditi.
Hi, this is Aditya Agrawal. I'm also pursuing hybrid MBA course from Golden Gate University, and today I'm here to present the Netflix case analysis for Netflix.
Hi, I'm Dr. Akash Malik. I'm a medical doctor and a public health specialist working on various public health programs with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, currently employed with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And I'll be starting with the presentation on the case analysis of Netflix and giving a perspective of microeconomics, and which will be followed by the macroeconomics. So can we go to the next slide? So as it is evident, we have chosen Netflix as the company for the analysis. Netflix is a front runner. For the entertainment industry, which operates through the internet. So it's one of the key players in the internet entertainment industry, and provides on-demand videos, music, movies, etc. Started way back in 1997 with a very humble beginning of trying to mail DVDs, and then on as the as the scenario changed, the world changed, the internet came in. They went into the business of providing videos on demand and OTT. And as we know, Netflix provides contents with respect to the geographies, and has various subscription models to cater to the various levels or the various income groups. Can we go to the next slide, please, Aditi?
Yep.
So we'll start with so as per the ask, we'll start with the demand and supply changes and trends in three eras. That is pre-pandemic, which we have taken from 2014 to 2019, the pandemic era, which is from 2020 to 2021, and the post-pandemic, which is 2022. Next slide. So for the demand and supply graphs, we have taken the demand to be in terms of the number of paid subscribers worldwide. So we have taken this quarter by quarter report, and followed by the supply in terms of the content spent done by Netflix. That was how much amount they have spent on content development, which is also taken quarter by quarter. So again, this is the table and the graph. So the first graph is an overall trend graph of demand and supply from quarter 1 of 2014 to the quarter 4 of 2022. So the area which is highlighted in the green box is the pre-COVID area, and the red one is the COVID area, and the blue one is the post-COVID area. So if you see the graph on the right-hand side of the presentation, the red line refers to the supply graph, and the blue graph refers to the demand. So as you can see, irrespective of the usual demand and supply graphs or the demand and supply rule, for Netflix, with increase in price of subscription, the demand and supply both have shown an increasing trend overall. If we see from the entire data from 2014 to 2022, just to add here, for the subscription price, what we have done is, because there are different subscription models, so we have taken an average price for all the subscriptions. So if there is a basic, standard, and a premium, then we have taken the average of all three. So now coming specifically to the pre-COVID era, that is 2014 to 2019. So again, we can see that both the supply and demand curves have shown a positive slope. So and which is also depicted by the straight line graph, straight line equation. So the red one is for the supply, and the blue one is for demand. So both are showing a positive slope upward trend. which implies that with every increase in price, the demand and supply both are increasing. Coming to the COVID era, so here we see a break in the usual trend. As visible in the graph, the supply has shown a negative slope. That means with increase in the prices, the supply has decreased. However, the demand remained to be increased. So a possible explanation for this is because in the COVID era, the number of movies or the or new content being produced was less or stopped due to the lockdown and restrictions. Therefore, the new content was not being produced, and therefore the supply was negative. However, as there was no other option for entertainment for people, they were locked down. There was lockdown implemented, and they were in their homes. There was no other source of entertainment. So maybe that's the reason we feel that the demand actually increased despite an increase in price and decrease in the content being supplied by Netflix. Now, next slide, please. Now, post-COVID era, so the thing to note is that in the post-COVID era, that is from quarter 1, 2022 to quarter 4, 2022, there has been no change in the subscription price. Therefore, we have got a straight line graph because there is no change to be measured. However, if you see that the total quantity supplied was amounting to $18.79 billion worth of content, and the total demand increased by 0.89 billion subscribers being added in this post-COVID era. Next slide, please. Now, here we have superimposed all the three graphs for the demand. So the blue line is for the pre-COVID demand trend. The red one is the COVID demand trend, and the post-COVID demand trend is shown in green. So as you can see, there is a shift of the demand to the left-hand side in the red line. So the red line has shifted to the left side of the blue line. So that means the demand actually has shown a decreasing trend, though so it's very minimal as you can see in the graph. But yes, there is a decreasing trend in the demand in the COVID area if we superimpose all the three graphs. Coming to the supply, here the decrease in the supply is very evident. As you can see, again, the supply supply curve has actually taken a negative slope, and it has moved to the left-hand side of the graph. And therefore, it is very evident that the content supplied has decreased in COVID as compared to the pre-COVID area. And we had also seen this in the previous slides, and we explained that the reason behind that. So this is the summary of the price, demand, and supply in different areas of public. So of Netflix, overall, the percentage change in price has decreased in the COVID times. So the percentage increase in price in COVID, though the price increased, but the percentage increase is less as compared to the pre-COVID era. Similarly, if you see the percentage change in demand in terms of number of subscribers, so from 2014 to 2022, there was a 400% increase in the number of subscribers. However, that reduced to 140 or nearly 140% in the pre-COVID era, further reduced to 21.29% in the COVID era, and decreased further in the post-COVID era. However, if you see the supply, the percentage change in supply is high in the pre-COVID era. It was negative as it's shown in the graphs and the tables earlier. It is negative in the COVID era. And again, it picked up in the post-COVID era, but it's not as high as the pre-COVID era. Now I hand over to my colleague Arun, who will explain the change in demand and supply and will take us through the equilibrium and elasticity. Thank you.
Hello, this is Arun here. I'll be discussing the change in demand supply with price change, as well as about elasticity and equilibrium. I just want to say that my connection is a little poor out at sea. So in case I get dropped out, I will attach the explanation and update video. That being said, see, Netflix as a company, it is a peculiar company. It does not follow the normal laws of supply and demand, because this is an IT-based company, and supply, as in the provision of subscribers, it can go to any extent. It can continuously provide. There is no limitation with regard to supply. So That being said, they increase the price of its product based on a lot of factors, such as number of subscription, number of content being produced. So if you see the general demand or general increase of subscription, it's continuous, it is steady growth. It does not vary much along with the demand and supply. So it is a positive growth. Number of subscriptions keep increasing throughout the last 10 years or so. So it will never go down or never get reduced. That being said, if you see you still have a positive change in demand. What happens when increasing the demand reduces and then the supply is also supposed to increase? That is called a risk, but here it doesn't happen that way, because they can go producing contents. But during COVID, we had a sudden stop in supply. Very less that case. And after COVID, you have more demand. The demand, if you see, it is like, sorry, after COVID, even though the prices increased by 10%, the demand is not much, but everybody would want to keep the subscription on. So even though the production is stopped, you still have a lot of subscribers in place. So say, talking about elasticity, can you go to the next slide, please? So elasticity means the more the price changes, any change in price, there is a big change in demand. If that happens, then it is said to be an elastic product. Whereas even if it's a big change in price and then you don't have much change in demand, then it is said to be inelastic. What I mean to say is, if any essential services like oil or gas, something which is required in life, any amount of price change, you will definitely have to buy it. Netflix, it works in both ways. You can even call it elastic as well as inelastic. Like, for example, everybody needs entertainment, so you cannot afford to let go of entertainment. So you will have subscription, but you might choose between, say, a few companies. So price is not that big a factor. So if you see, except for the time in COVID, you have to have the subscription. Everybody is using it, so that time the elasticity is like it is inelastic. Otherwise, the rest of the period you have elastic change. Yeah, you can go to the next. So equilibrium, this talks about equilibrium, and so really it is for
Arun, we are losing you there. We couldn't hear you. Can you start again, please, for this slide?
I think we lost him. Akash, pause the recording.
No, it's okay. I think he will join. He said that we can continue. He will send a separate video if there is an issue. So I'll just continue on this part.
You just, we can edit the video.
So no, it's okay. So let's start. Let's continue because we need to finish it. So so as Arun was mentioning, it is evident that the supply is more than the demand, because for every 1 million subscribers overall, the Netflix supplies over 28.72 million worth of content. So that's why there is always an elasticity, except in the COVID period. So if you can see from 2017 onwards, the spend on the supply is less. Despite of that, it is still more than the demanded number of subscribers. So demanded number of subscribers. So that's why I think Netflix uses the elasticity to its favor. Coming to the next slide, just to summarize. So Netflix appears to be a paradox to the law of demand and supply, as we have seen from slide number 1. Ideally, with increase in price, the demand should decrease and the supply should increase. However, in this case, both the demand and supply have increased, except in the COVID period, where despite the supply decreasing, the demand increased. Also to be noted, as Arun mentioned, that being an internet-based company, Netflix has a high marginal cost. That means the cost of adding one subscriber is actually zero, right? Also, it is so Netflix is a case study where people have studied the Netflix. They have come to the conclusion that Netflix is also actually not competing with other OTT platforms like Hotstar, Sony, etc. But actually, they are competing with the cable TV network, which amounts to nearly 100 to 120 USD per month in US. So that means even with a price range, I think Arun is back. Arun, you want to continue? Okay, I think he's still not able to. So yeah, coming back to this point, third point is that Netflix is competing with cable TV, and the average cable TV cost per month is 100 to 120 USD per month in US. So even with the price increase to an average of 15.99 in 2022, still it's much cheaper than cable TV in US. Also, Netflix has continuously supplied new content. So for every 1% change in the supply in terms of amount invested in content has led to an overall 2.5% increase in subscribers. Also, if we refer to the table, to the previous slide, which Arun mentioned, yeah, it's okay. We can stick to that slide, the last slide. Yeah, so as Arun mentioned earlier, if you can see, the increase in price is the increase in price is also linked to the increase in supply. So they have been very strategic. With every increase in price of the subscription, they increase the amount spent on supply and content development to as high as 600% in some cases. So as I mentioned earlier, Netflix has always seen the price elasticity as an advantage. And as per Netflix, since 2011, their average subscriber has grown every quarter. So they have always made profit despite the increase in price. And though as Arun mentioned, even though if for momentarily the number of subscribers may decrease for a couple of quarters, as we saw in 2022 in Q1 and in Q2 and Q3, the number of subscribers decreased very marginally, but they again, by adding new content and strategically spending more on content, they win more subscribers and show an increase. And again, in Q4, they were back to the previous numbers where they were adding more subscribers to their already pool of subscribers. So this is all about macroeconomics. So I request Aditi and Ritika to take us through the macroeconomics part. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Akash. So let's move forward and analyze the influence of inflation, unemployment, and recession on Netflix as a company pre-pandemic, looking at the three different time periods. That is pre-pandemic, that is 2014 to 19, period of COVID-19, that is pandemic era from 2020 to 2021, and that is post-pandemic, that is 2022 and 2023 currently moving on. Next slide, please. So looking at the current pre-COVID era, let's go through three factors which influence the pre-COVID era in terms of inflation, recession, and unemployment. So the pre-pandemic era from 2014 to 2019, let's look at the inflation part. So as we can see that from year 2014 to the end of 2019, the economy had a steady rate of inflation, that is from probably 1% to 3%, which kept the buying capacity of population fluctuating drastically. So people had a good purchasing power. And at the same time, Netflix experienced a steady growth in subscribers prior to pandemic with no decline in any particular quarter. In terms of subscription packages, Netflix announced new prices for all its subscribers in January 2019. And for the first time, there was a change in basic subscription, which was $8.99. That is a 13% increase from the previous price, while the standard and premium packages increased to $12.99 and $15.99 respectively. And also, Netflix experienced a decline in its growth rate of revenue by 5% for quarter 1 of 2019 post the increase in subscription prices. Although its annual revenue for 2019 was $20,156 billion, which is a 27.98% percentage of increase in from last 2018 as a year. This was about the inflation. Let's move forward to unemployment as the factor which had an influence on Netflix and global economy. Since 2017, as we see, Netflix started hiring temporary and part-time employments, where the human capital consisted mostly of full-time workers. But by the end of 2019, Netflix boasted a total of 8,600 employees, which is 21% more than year 2018. Moving on to the recession. So between the period of 2014 and 2019, US economy didn't experience any kind of recession as such. But looking at Netflix had a consistent price hikes from 2014 to year 2019, which is, for example, in Jan 2019, they had a hike in their prices, that is 13%. At the same time, in 2014, it was 13% as well. Moving on to the pandemic part of it, so let's move toward the pandemic era, that is from year 2020 to 2022, and looking at the inflation as a factor which influenced the global economy, business, and Netflix as a company. So we can say that following a period of deflation in 2020 due to pandemic, the inflation rate increased to 4.2% in April 2021 and spiked to further 7% by December 2021. But for the first quarter of 2020, Netflix had a total of 163 million paid subscribers, which was 9.5% more than its previous quarter. And of course, you know the reason, it was pandemic era and people were sitting at home, and which led to the increase in the growth of subscriber base. Another 10 million subscribers were added in the next quarter of the same year, that is 2020. By the end of 2021, Netflix recorded 221.84 million paid subscribers to its platform. And we can see that at the quarter 3 of 2020, Netflix again increased the price for its standard and premium subscription, which is an increment of 8% and 13% respectively. The standard subscription was priced at probably $13.99, and while premium charged $17.99. While the annual revenue of 2020 and 2021 was in consecutive increment, it was increasing constantly. The effect of inflation and hike in subscription charges meant the consumers were switching to more fiscally feasible options towards the end of the year. That is, more cheaper substitutes instead of Netflix due to inflation, because the purchasing power of consumers reduced due to the hike in percentage of the inflation. Moving forward to the factor of unemployment, despite the rate of unemployment hiking to 8% in 2020 due to pandemic, there was no significant effect on the company regards to the Netflix as a company. Netflix, in fact, reported a total of 9,400 employees in 2020, and which increased later to 11,300 employees in 2021. Moving forward to the factor of recession in the pandemic era. In midst of pandemic, U.S. economy experienced one of the shortest recession ever, which basically started from February 2020 and ended by April 2020. The COVID-19 recession did not have any significant impact on the growth of Netflix. Moving on, we can see that the subscription plans which are basic in during the pandemic era, basic was $8.99, standard was $13.99, and premium was 17% to $17.99. So now moving on to the next part, Aditi will take over the post-pandemic era to explain the macroeconomics factors which influence global economy, business, and Netflix as a company, individual identity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ritika. So moving on for the post-COVID era, following the trend of the previous year, inflation kept on increasing for 2022, seeing a peak at 9.1% in June 2022. Due to the rise in inflation, this disrupted the purchasing power of the consumers. People were having trouble purchasing the packs. And due to the demand of the inflation, Netflix also increases subscription prices again in January 2022. For the basic, they increased up to $9.99. For standard packages, they have increased the prices to $15.49, while for the premium, they settled on to $19.99. And after the price increase, for the first time in over a decade, Netflix saw a reduction in its number of subscribers for the first 2 quarters. Like, if you can see it from the previous slide, we closed 2021 with 221.84 million subscribers, but we started 2022 with 221.64 million subscribers. That is 0.20 million subscribers less. And moving on to the second quarter of 2022, we further went down to 220.67 million subscribers. So following that, Netflix, to gain back those subscribers, Netflix introduced a new package, subscription package in November. That was basic with ads rated at $6.99. Within this new package, there were all the benefits of a basic package, but the consumer had to deal with the ads in between. Moving further, unlike the other major companies, Netflix laid off its employees in June, like 450 employees, or around 4% of the total company's employee in June 2022. Although it did lay off the employees, at the end of the year, Netflix closed up with 12,800 employees. That is a 13% increase from the previous human capital. And although there is a conflict amongst economists when it comes to recession, some are on the side that yes, summer of 2022 was when recession was again, US economy again went into recession. But some economists feel that just two negative quarter growth is not sufficient to claim that the economy has gone into recession when we are still coming out with a job, when we are still growing. So in spite of the conflict, the effect of inflation, the recession, the destabilizing of consumer purchasing power, the effect of it was seen in the downward slope of Netflix revenue. Like, as you can see it, we closed for second quarter at $7.97 billion, but for the third quarter, instead of increasing, the Netflix revenue for the quarter decreased by approximately $35 million. It further decreased in the fourth quarter. It went down to $7.852 billion. So, as you can see in this graph, like summarizing all three eras, as you can see, Netflix prior to COVID, it had a steady growth in its subscriber base. It had a steady growth in its quarterly revenue. But there is a peak at at the onset of COVID, where subscriber base increased. The growth rate for the subscriber was far more than the previous quarters. And following the post-COVID era, we saw a dip in the subscribers over here. Similarly, in the revenue curve, there is a constant increase in revenue for every single quarter, but towards the end, we have a downward sloping revenue curve where the quarterly revenue for the Netflix has decreased. Moving on to fiscal and monetary policy changes and its effect on Netflix in the pandemic period. For the monetary policy, the federal bank, they set up really low interest rate to keep up with the loss of jobs, with the lockdown, with the lockdown of the country. So with a low interest rate, what happened with Netflix was that it had to pay less interest in terms of its debt. It had to pay even less taxes than the prior year. All that did for Netflix was it increased its margin for the gross profit. So as it was seen by the end of it, that monetary policy had very minimal impact on the Netflix company. On the other hand, fiscal policy set up by the central government, although maybe not directly affecting the Netflix, it did help shore the disposable income of the consumer while providing them various packages and stipends and benefits under the COVID Relief Act. What that did was that when the consumer had more disposable income, they were more likely to stay up for the subscription and not leave Netflix as such. So overall, we'd say that yes, Netflix didn't have the monetary and the fiscal policy didn't had much impact on Netflix. Like it started its growth with it borrowed around $15 million in 2011, but by 2021, the company had a positive cash flow and it did not need to borrow any more money. So concluding all of that, we did see that during pandemic, Netflix thrived as an entertainment company. There were a lot more subscribers added to its base. On the other hand, fiscal and monetary policy did not have much impact on it. And although the economists are in conflict in regards with the recession of 2022, everyone has unanimously said that there will be a recession in the year of 2023. And as we have seen, like for the last 2 quarters of the Netflix, it had a decrease in the revenue. So Netflix really needs to come up with good strategy to keep up, to go on the upswing of revenue again and to keep up with its subscriber base. And that is it from me.
Yeah, thank you. And before we end, I think Arun is back and he has requested if we can go through the elasticity part again because we're not able to hear him properly. So Arun, are you ready?
I'll move. Is this the slide or the next one?
The next one, please.
Sure.
It's okay. I just want to, I got cut abruptly. Sorry for that. I just want to explain about elasticity, how it affected Netflix. So basically, before we start, how elasticity is defined as like when there is any slight change in price of any particular, and that causes a large change in demand for that product, then that thing is said to be elastic. Whereas how much of a price change, if a huge price change, there is not much change in demand, then we can call that to be an inelastic one. Netflix has used this concept very judiciously, and she, say for example, around 2011, the company initially had decreased the subscription prices, but that led to a significant decrease in the number of subscriptions. So that is the time Netflix knew that its demand is indeed of elastic nature. So from then on, she used that pricing strategy was inbuilt into its how she priced. So after that, if you see during COVID, when people had nothing else to do, so everybody had to watch Netflix. So that time, if you see whatever the price increase, like say for example 2019, you had around 18.8% change in price, but still you have a very positive demand. Still that's around 7%, 6 to 7% increase in demand. So that time it was totally inelastic. So no matter how much of a price increase, the people were ready to pay for it. So that's how they had been using the concept of elasticity in how they price the products. Yeah, this should be okay.
Thanks, Arun. Thanks everyone. And we'll just like to mention before we end the video that we are delayed by 1 week because one of our team members had to leave the course due to personal reasons, and we were not in touch with the person for a long time. So we were not sure of how to go about it. And we are collectively we will request to please take that into consideration before marking us. So thanks, thank you everyone. Thanks Aditi, thanks Adhika, thanks Arun.
Thank you so much.